Salutations, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and today I want to talk to you about that new Gears of War E-Day. Now, Gears of War E-Day just had their beta windows wrapped up throughout the first half of this month, and boy, a lot of good things are coming out of this Gears of War beta. Now, in my opinion, I'm gonna start talking about the new Horde Siege mode. Now, I have a coworker, he was telling me about Fortnite Save the World, and he was telling me about how the Fortnite Save the World game mode, and what goes on in that, how that's set up. And then I was telling him about Gears of War Siege mode, E-Day Siege mode, and there's a lot of simulators in this mode, apparently. I've never personally played this mode, but it sounds like the same thing. So in Gears of War, the new Siege mode, Siege Horde, 4 players form one squad, and they get dropped into this open area in the city, and they go around the city completing objectives. And there's 2 other squads in the map also doing the same thing. Now, all of it's PvE, you're not going against each other, it's not extraction shooter or anything, it's just you helping out other gears, going around completing objectives with your squad, doing side missions, trying to collect energy to upgrade resources and wipe out the hordes that emerge. And in this mode is really fun. I think that this is a pretty nice evolution of the siege mode seen in other games such as Fortnite Save the World, where you're running around base building, collecting things, starting missions. And it's interesting because Fortnite came from Gears of War, where a lot of the developers, Epic Games developed Gears of War, as we know, gamers know, and they went off to make Fortnite. They splintered the development team, made it the Coalition, so it can be Microsoft Studio ran Coalition. And it's interesting because Fortnite went off to make Save the World, but Epic was used to making a sort of a wave-based mode in the Horde mode of Gears of War when they were making it. So it's almost a full circle moment with Gears of War E-Day's Horde Siege mode and Fortnite Save the World. And that's something that's really to see. So in Horde Siege mode, there's a lot of things that's just fun. Number one, in this game, you can have attachments. Like you're creating class in Call of Duty. In Horde Siege mode, it lets you create your class. There's 4 classes. Probably should start with that, huh? I mained a marksman. There's an assault class. There's a breacher class. And there's a medic class, which I've seen a lot of people use. I think you're able to res yourself. I see a lot of medics get down and just use their res ability to just get themselves up. That's pretty powerful. But in marksman, you have this drone that pings, kind of like, I've been playing a lot of Marathon, kind of how Recon is, where if you ping your thing, it scans all the enemies in the area. And that's been really fun because as you play the game, as you upgrade, you get upgrades. There's an upgrade that when you kill people, there's a resource energy. They've been using this resource for a couple gears, I think since Gears 4, because during a Horde mode you use this replicator thing. It's essentially the same thing in this, where the replicator is the supply cache, and you collect this resource after you kill someone, and you return it to the supply thing to buy resources, buy ammo, equipment, etc. With this one recon ability, when you use your scan ping, that pings a wide area in a circumference style balloon bubble, it will automatically pick up all the resources around. So you don't have to waste time running around picking up this manually. It saves a lot of time. I think it's very useful outside of the information that it gives base, just telling you where people are, because there are a lot of things going on. You could be in certain areas and you're getting surrounded by all sides, and that's the last thing you want to do in a cover shooter, is get ambushed where you can't get into cover. So that's pretty useful. Also, using a sniper is fun. I had to tweak my settings because in past Gears, like Gears 5, I was hitting shots. I was missing a lot of shots that I would hit if I was playing a more finely tuned game setting-wise in Gears 5. But nevertheless, playing this game mode is really fun, especially when you get in a lobby where all 3 squads of 4 is helping each other take down, let's say, the boss. So during this area, they could be this boss event, where you have to go kill a Brumac or a Corpser. And the Corpser one, you might have to go around and get some bombs to destroy the hull of the Corpser after it burrows back down into the hole. And these moments are really cool, especially when the teamwork sort of lingers on throughout the game. So after the boss battle that may take the whole lobby to take down effectively, you might go around do individual missions where the other team can't really see what missions you have on, unless you're doing an area lockdown mission where you have to stay in this one area and lock it down. But once you play it enough times, you get a sense of where the missions are, what they are, where they are, and what you have to do for the missions. And going around and helping other squads do their missions, especially when they're struggling, you can see where there's not a heads up display, but there's a feed that'll tell you what other squads are doing. And if other squads are going down, say two of the squads in the blue squad, or two of the players in blue squad goes down, it will give you a notification saying that blue squad needs help. So when I get that notification, I may try to run across the map, try to save them, but it's kind of hard to do because the map is so big and you don't know where they are. If a squad needs help across the map, chances are that once you get there, they're all up or they're all gone, because you have to run and sprint to that area. But all of that to say is Horde Siege mode is a fresh new take on the Horde mode. I think you can get a lot of hours in this, especially if you love sort of completing missions with your friends, helping out. And they also offer the traditional Horde mode, but I didn't see it on any of the multiplayer maps. I don't know. I think they have dedicated maps for the Horde mode, which is going to change a lot of the map variety for this mode, because in the beta there was only one map and it got stale really quickly. So I wonder how many more maps they're going to add, if they're going to add a rotating map pool. You can pick your maps, or I can see them doing a timely rotating map pool, where during this 12-hour window, it might just be one map or something like that, or have it in rotation, because doing one map can get really old. I can see for a day they might have a map, or for, let's say, 30 minutes to an hour, they might have one map and have it rotate. I think would be nice. But yes, map variety is going to be something to look closely at. I know launch date, it's not going to have too many, but obviously modern day, they're going to have rolling out maps. So yeah, that's really all I really got to say about Horde Siege mode. I enjoyed it. It was a fresh take. It was nice. Okay, let's talk about the versus now. Now, the versus mode, I'm going to talk a lot more about the game mechanics and what they changed, because it's going to matter a lot more in a PvE setting than it is a PvP setting. So in Gears of War E-Day, they changed a lot of stuff movement-wise, more beginner friendly. They made a lot of things more beginner friendly. The first thing that stuck out when I first booted up this game and played the boot camp, the default setting is a normal sprint button. If you have a controller, hitting the left stick in most games where you're shooting people, that's sprint. In all other Gears games, holding A is your sprint, and that's a rodeo run, where you run bent over because bullets are flying and you're trying to go to cover. In this game, it changes that, for better, for worse. It's gonna, I think, slow down gameplay, because you can't just run crouch run under cover throughout cover and just get in people's faces and wall bounce and do a lot of stuff. No, when you run, you're gonna be standing up. So while you're running, you are very susceptible to ranged weaponry, so such as a Mulcher, Lancer fire. I think this is low-key a Lancer buff, because it's easier to hit people with your Lancer if they're all sprinting standing up. And mainly when you use your Lancer, you're going to be using it in that mid-range where people are trying to get close to you to use your Gnasher. And I'm someone who in the past Gears games, I use the Lancer a lot. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media saying just use the Gnasher. Experienced Gears players know when to use the Gnasher and when not to use the Gnasher. Such as, if they're mid-range and they're sprinting at me with a Gnasher, I have enough time to lance you down before you get into Gnasher range. And knowing that sweet spot is where you're going to thrive in this game, because those are your two default weapons. You have to be able to master your default weapons. And a lot of people aim to masher the Nasher before they even mastered the Lancer. So sprinting, standing up changes up a lot of things, and there's also a slide button. So typically when you're sprinting and you do a dodge roll, that will just be a dodge roll. But in Gears of War E-Day, they added a slide, which is pretty nasty if you're using a Nasher. It doesn't really help for any other weapon because you have to have a sustained fire. But for shotguns, for single shot, one high DPS damaging weapons, this is going to be really cool move to see people utilize it. There's still going to be a lot of movement tech like in the previous Gears, but learning when to slide, especially during close quarters combat, can really flip fights, I'd say. Just like how wall bouncing will. Wall bouncing still is a thing, but I think kind of how they added sprinting, standing up, normal sprinting, not roadie running, and other things, it kind of makes the movement arguably even more fleshed out and more deep because there are these new movement mechanics. And in this Gears, you can jump. This is the first Gears game where you have a dedicated jump button. This replaces the B mantle in Gears 5. There was this mechanic, it might have been in Gears 4, where if you sprint to a barrier, you can just hit a button instead of locking yourself into that cover and then vaulting over that cover, mount vaulting, whatever. And there's just a dedicated button, and the default scheme on a controller is Y, and you can just jump. You can jump to cover, you can jump on top of cover, and this changes vertically how the game is played if you're someone who takes those chances getting on top of cover, kind of standing out like that, because that's the last thing you want to do in a cover shooter is be on top of the cover. So it makes for, I've seen clips online where people are just jumping cover to cover, skipping the traditional sort of mapping and map movement, making it so that you can really cut people off if they're trying to run away, and if they aren't utilizing this mechanic, you can just jump right on top of them, almost like a Valkyrie ult in dang Apex Legends, just fly right on top of it. Yeah, you can do this in this game. It's pretty nutty. I haven't used it to its full potential in this game, but this is a game I'll be playing a lot, so I'll get way more into that. So those are the big things in the Horde, and not in the versus mode, that really changes the gameplay, changes how the game flows, and etc. It's the most different feeling Gears game to date, even almost more so than Gears Judgment, where they completely changed how that game felt, which wasn't a bad game. And Versus is Versus. Outside of that, you're really doing the same thing. Nothing's really changed. There's new weapons. In Versus mode, you can't customize your weapons like you do in Horde Siege mode. There's no putting on any new attachments like that. Everyone's has their... It's a traditional old school power weapon in a map gameplay. So everyone's coming in with the same default loadout, playing for power weapons and doing objectives such as control and whatnot. So all in all, to say that I had lots of fun playing the Gears of War E-Day. I think that the changes were made for accessibility, especially for new players. I think that a lot of experienced players will still be able to thrive even with more tools in their repertoire, in their tool basket to be able to use for movement and such. And yeah, the beta was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the content, and all the content that's going to be in the game going forward is going to be free updates, no pay to win stuff, no pay to win skins, no battle pass, things like that. So that's really cool. And the last part of this video is I'm just going to talk about what I think and how I think this campaign will be and how big I think. If they're able to nail this campaign, this can be a very good Gears of War game. One of the best Gears of War games in the series. And I think a return to this setting, to Dom and Marcus, is what the people really wanted, what the people needed. I admire them for trying to get out the box and trying to switch it up with some new characters, but us old heads who grew up with the OGs, we're just gonna admire the old ones more, and new players are gonna admire them going back to form. And so I think it's gonna help with new onboarders coming in and experiencing the franchise and what it means. It's gonna be crazy, the scale of it. So the campaign is really going to be centered around this one city. That's going to be a very different sort of way of going about the campaigns, because in most of the campaigns, Gears 1 all the way through 5, you travel a lot of destinations. But to me, I think of one of the most memorable moments in Gears games is when you're in the city, when you can see the destruction, when you run into civilians fighting for their life. And I think Gears E-Day is really going to hone in on that experience on this one city, watching it go from a regular city to destroyed throughout this E-Day, because the amount of destruction within a span of however long the E-Day is, it was record level. And it's going to be really fun to see what they do with this story. Dom and Marcus and the two new characters, seeing how their roles are going to be in this group, in this squad. And I'm really excited for it. That's really going to be it. All my thoughts about Gears of War E-Day. It took a while, but I love this franchise so much, and I had fun playing the beta, and I think the game is going to have a lot of solid success. It's not going to be as successful as these new CODs and stuff, because Gears of War is still way more complicated of a game to just for people to pick up and be able to be good in it, but it does have a lot of cool PvP elements. Gears of War has always been that total package game, and Gears of War 5, Gears of War 4 arguably wasn't really that total package feeling Gears game, because especially in 5, the story was very weak, and for people who just play the game for the story mode, I think it's going to be very important for them to have a very good story mode with Dom and Marcus, with the characters we love. And if they knock it out the park, that's advertisement for the other two game modes that they're gonna have. We'll see what else they release throughout this time, but that's gonna be it. I already talked long enough. I could talk all day about Gears, but yeah, let me know what you think. Am I tripping? Am I speaking facts about Gears? Whoever played the beta, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll be playing it once it comes out.